There are moments in life that test the limits of our understanding. Moments when the veil between the known and the unknown grows thin, leaving us gasping for breath. For me, that moment arrived one fateful night when I first became aware of a presence that would forever change my reality. It started innocently enough, during a seemingly mundane evening. I was at home, winding down after a long day, the soft glow of my reading lamp casting comforting shadows around the room. As I turned the pages of my book, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. It was a sensation that crept up my spine, making the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. I glanced around, but the room was empty, the only sound being the faint rustling of the pages. Shrugging it off as fatigue, I continued to read, determined to dismiss the unsettling feeling. But that night marked the beginning of something far more sinister. Over the next few days, the sensation intensified. It began with fleeting glimpses, a shadow darting across the corner of my vision, the unmistakable feeling of breath on my neck when I was alone in my room. I found myself jumping at the smallest sounds, the creaking of the floorboards, the soft rustle of fabric. It was as if something was trailing me, lurking just beyond my sight, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Despite my growing anxiety, I refused to give in to fear. I convinced myself that I was simply stressed, the product of an overactive imagination. However, as the days turned into weeks, the presence became more aggressive. I could feel it following me, lurking in the shadows, always just out of reach. At night, I would wake up breathless, my heart racing, drenched in sweat. It felt as if the air had been sucked out of the room, leaving me gasping, desperately seeking a breath that would not come. One particularly sleepless night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling when I heard it, a soft whisper, so faint I almost convinced myself I was imagining it. "Help me!" It sent a shiver through me, my blood running cold. I bolted upright, searching the darkness of my room, my pulse pounding in my ears. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice trembling. But there was no response, only silence, heavy and oppressive. As the nights dragged on, my exhaustion deepened, and the whispers became more frequent, weaving through my dreams and waking hours alike. I began to see the figure in the reflections of windows and mirrors, a silhouette with indistinguishable features, watching me, waiting. It was always just behind me, leaving me breathless and on edge. I became a prisoner in my own home, too terrified to sleep and too drained to think clearly. In a desperate attempt to reclaim my life, I reached out for help. I contacted a local paranormal investigator, hoping they could provide answers. On the appointed day, they arrived equipped with an array of gadgets, each one designed to detect the unseen. As we sat in my living room, the investigator asked me to recount my experiences. I spoke of the whispers, the feeling of being watched, the figure that haunted my reflections. Their expressions shifted from skepticism to concern, and they agreed to conduct a seance that night, hoping to make contact with whatever was following me. As darkness enveloped the house, we gathered in a circle, candles flickering in the dim light. The atmosphere was thick with tension as the investigator called upon the spirits, urging them to reveal themselves. I felt a chill race down my spine as the temperature dropped, the air becoming electric. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and a heavy silence fell over us. In that moment, I felt it, the presence that had been following me, drawing nearer, pressing in like a weight on my chest. The investigator's voice trembled as they spoke. "I can feel something here, something dark." Just then, the room was filled with a cacophony of whispers, echoing around us like a haunting symphony. "Leave her!" one voice pleaded, while another hissed, "Join us!" Panic surged within me as the whispers grew louder, the shadows around us deepening. I gasped for breath, struggling to comprehend the chaos around me. The presence was no longer just a feeling, it was tangible, suffocating, and relentless. In a frantic attempt to escape, I stumbled backward, my heart racing as I fled the circle. As I reached the door, I felt the cold breath of the presence against my skin, a chilling reminder that it was never far behind. I burst into the night, gasping for air, The cool breeze a sharp contrast to the heaviness I felt within. The whispers faded as I ran, the shadows receding with each step I took away from my home. I didn't stop until I reached a nearby park, collapsing onto a bench, the adrenaline slowly fading. As I sat there, catching my breath, I felt a strange sense of clarity wash over me. The presence, though terrifying, was not purely malevolent. It was lost, searching for a way to communicate, a thread of connection to the living world. In that moment, I understood that it was not just a haunting, it was a plea for help, a desire for resolution. Though I never returned to the house, the experience changed me. I began to delve deeper into the world of the supernatural, seeking understanding and closure. Not just for myself, but for the presence that had left me breathless. I realized that sometimes the shadows that follow us are not to be feared, but rather embraced as we navigate the thin line between the living and the dead.